Good morning. My name is Dave McMurtry, and I apologize for my cold. I hope my voice makes it through this. Yes, I run an investment fund and an advisory practice for companies in the lithium-ion battery supply chain. Think extraction through refining, component manufacturing, EV manufacturing, and then all the way through recycling. I am also the only Silicon Valley tech guy here, which perhaps is why it doesn't say honorable in front of my name in the program. But nonetheless, I am honored to be here. So thank you, Congressman Pittenger and JC, for the invite. I do appreciate it. I am going to talk to you about something that is at the intersection of energy independence and also national security, and that is the critical need to build and maintain a domestic BESS industry, or battery energy supply storage sector. It is, and I'm not talking just about electric vehicles and laptops and phones. It is literally about everything that you plug in during your day. It's a topic I'll venture that hasn't been discussed in any of these forums, nor will you might not know about it because it is not in the news every day. I'll be discussing what's happening here in the United States using examples and data because that's my field of expertise, but I imagine it's a similar situation in all of your countries. The United States has the world's largest and most complex electrical grid with over 3,000 utilities and 55,000 substations that deliver power to almost every home and business. Our grid not only supports daily life, but also industries, hospitals, and critical military operations. As Dr. Emma Stewart of our Idaho National Laboratory reminded Congress in March of this year, that our grid faces unprecedented threats from catastrophic weather to adversarial state actors. So modernizing and securing the grid therefore demands investment, and BESS is at the top of that list. So what exactly is BESS? Well, it's simply the units of rechargeable batteries with power electronics and control software that store electricity and discharge it when needed. They absorb excess electricity when generation exceeds demand and then supply power back during grid disturbances or peak periods. You might be unaware that in most states when you turn on the lights, especially between 3 and 9 p.m., your power is not coming from a power plant. It's coming likely from a system like you see behind me. In fact, let me ask, does anyone here know how much you pay per kilowatt hour for electricity in your home? Throw out a number if you know. And don't be surprised if you don't know, because most people are unaware. I'm going to ask Kevin, because I know Kevin knows last. Does anybody know what they pay? 10 cents. Wow, where do you live? Holly, you must be in Texas. Texas. Kevin, how much do you pay?
It's a bit more than that.
A little bit more than that. I live in San Francisco, which is one of the most expensive. I pay 60 cents a kilowatt hour between 3 and 9 p.m. I know. At night, when I charge my Tesla, I pay 25 cents a kilowatt hour. I have facilities, about 1 million square feet of facilities up in Reno, Nevada, just a 3-hour drive from me. They pay 6 cents a kilowatt hour. You can see the obvious arbitrage opportunity. Experts agree that BESS is fundamental to maintaining the stability and reliability of modern energy grids. This project behind me belongs to a portfolio company of mine in California, and when combined with many other sites just like it, generates electricity, stores it, and puts it back in the grid. About 15% of the total electrons delivered come from sites like this. And this is a crucial source of our electricity needs, believe it or not, might not be fully under our control. So what is the threat? Experts warn that because Chinese manufacture dominate battery production, power, and control electronics, with at least 70% of battery production based in China and over 90% of systems containing at least one Chinese component, the U.S. currently lacks a domestic BESS industry. Excuse me. Assembly may occur here, but the hardware and software controlling these systems often comes from abroad. That dependence is a vulnerability that adversaries can exploit. China has spent 2 decades building dominance across the battery supply chain for BESS. Chinese control 94% of LFP, which is the dominant battery chemistry, and they are the R&D leaders in silicon ion, which is the battery chemistry of the future. The research outlines non-market practices by China, price dumping, intellectual property theft, forced technology transfers, monopolistic behavior that enable Chinese firms to flood the market and undercut competitors. I have spoken about this before in past forums, but this is a security forum, so let's talk about the evidence that some Chinese firms are, are exploiting this. In May, Reuters reported that US experts found undocumented cellular radios inside Chinese solar inverters and batteries. Inverters are what turn the DC block into AC that we use in our businesses and homes. These rogue components provide unlisted communication channels that bypass firewalls, allowing a remote actor to shut off or alter equipment. One analyst described the possibility of physically destroying the grid. So what's the probability of this happening? So consistent with comments we heard yesterday, Sophos 2024 survey of energy sector IT leaders found that 67% reported a ransomware attack in the past year. A 2025 TrustWave report said that ransom attacks on energy and utility increased 80% in just 1 year. NERC, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, warns the number of vulnerable points in electrical networks is growing by about 60 every day. And experts argue that the threat to BESS is high because these systems predominantly use cloud-based software. Energy storage systems have dozens of access points each, and they rely on internet connectivity for remote monitoring and firmware updates. Attackers could use ransomware, spoofing, denial of service, command injection, data injection, and many others to attack, disable on storage, and threaten grid reliability. In addition, fraud and malware aside, manufacturing defects and misrepresentation by overseas suppliers can have serious consequences. The Clean Energy Associates found that 72% of BESS manufacturing defects last year occurred at the system level, and the Chinese suppliers did not allow US buyers to inspect systems or security controls because of intellectual property restrictions. So, what is the path forward? To respond to these threats and seize the benefits of BESS, the United States must pursue a comprehensive strategy. 5 points. Number one, invest in domestic manufacturing across the entire value chain. The US simply cannot assemble imported parts. It must build factories to produce cells, cathode and anode materials, power electronics, inverters, control boards, and sensors. Experts emphasize that foreign control of these components poses the real technical risk, even more than the battery cells themselves. 2, leverage and extend tax credits. The Big Beautiful Bill's tax credits can make US-made batteries competitive, but these incentives must be maintained. Policy whiplash or overly burdensome restrictions can undermine investment. Congress should extend the credits beyond 2030, streamline permitting, and ensure that non-Chinese suppliers have access to US markets. Tariffs on Chinese batteries, which are scheduled to rise by 55% next year, should be paired with support for domestic R&D. 3, diversify materials and innovate. Relying solely on LFP invites vulnerability because China dominates that market with 94%. The US should invest in lithium sulfur, silicon anode, sodium ion, and other alternative chemistries. These technologies use more abundant materials and could leapfrog China's advantage. 4, implement strong cybersecurity standards and oversight. NERC designates BESS as an asset. Congress should fund the DOE and national labs to test BESS products from international companies for hidden communications devices and require overseas suppliers to allow inspection. And then finally, 5, strengthen supply chain resilience and international partnerships. Building domestic reserves and partnering with allies, Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Australia, will reduce reliance on single suppliers. In summary, when we talk about lithium-ion batteries supply chain, we think mostly about cars, but we should think more broadly. China's dominance of battery manufacturing, control electronics, and critical minerals poses a strategic threat. Our access to sustainable power is at risk, impacting all industries. Building a domestic BESS sector is not just about decarbonizing the grid, it's about safeguarding our national security, economic prosperity, and technological leadership. Let's seize this moment to build our battery energy storage systems that will power America's future and all of your country's futures securely, sustainably, and independently. Thank you again for inviting me to speak here today. I made it through. I appreciate being on this esteemed panel, and I will hand it to Sauron. Thank you.